James Turner for the untouchable true school sports. Let's go, baby. Bow!
Be careful what you wish for because it can become a reality.
Yeah. The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. All right, so I wanted to come through and just give my quick thoughts on the whole Turki Alalshikh situation, where apparently now Turki Alalshikh said that in the efforts to increase the fan base of boxing, he feels that by lowering pay-per-views to a price point of $20, that this would increase the fan base of boxing. Now, I'm not against the heart behind that or the intention behind that, but one thing I got to be clear about: I don't care if it's 20, I don't care if it's 80, and I don't care if it's 150. When it comes to the growth of boxing and the sport of boxing, one thing that I don't like is when fights that are not pay-per-view worthy are put on pay-per-view, and you put up paywalls for the fans, right? And the reason why I don't like that is because I feel like boxing should be as visible as possible, so consumers, sports fans, could have the option to watch boxing. Sometimes, a lot of times, sports fans don't even know that boxing is going on because boxing is constantly being put behind a paywall. So that's why I stand on that. Now, I think it's too early to say if it's good or it's bad, and the reason I'm saying that is because we know that it's been revealed recently that the pay-per-view price for Anthony Joshua's September 21st fight against Daniel Dubois is $20. And it is $20 if you're a DAZN subscriber in the USA, so it's not going to be included in your subscription. You're going to have to pay $20 to watch Daniel Dubois and Anthony Joshua, which, American fans know Anthony Joshua. We know he's a top heavyweight, but when you look at the undercard, it's guys like, Mark Chamberlain and, Joshua Buatsi, fighters that really aren't, names like that in the USA. So I'm sure plenty of hardcore fans will pay that money, but I think it still is a hard sell considering that there's not a lot of recognizable names to American boxing fans. And I'm speaking from the American perspective because I can't speak from no other perspective but the American perspective. So if you're from another country and you're like, oh, well, boxing doesn't revolve around the USA, this video is not for you. I think this could be a good thing if and only if. Now, look, I highly doubt, because the numbers won't work out, the math just won't math, but I highly doubt that, let's just say hypothetically, if Turki Alalshikh were to do a pay-per-view show with, let's say, Canelo versus Terrence Crawford, would that be $20? I highly doubt it. Now, if somehow, some way you could make that pay-per-view a $20 or even like a $30 pay-per-view and make it a decent card, then of course, then I think it'd be a great thing for boxing. But also, being realistic, those guys have high demands, those guys have high guarantees, and I just don't think the math and the numbers will work out for you to keep it at that price point. So if you ask what I think this is going to do long term, I actually think this is going to be a bad thing. I think what's going to wind up happening is that people who already have DAZN in the USA, who don't care about British fighters and domestic level dust-ups between Commonwealth and British champions, they're going to wind up getting price gouged because maybe they want to see one fight on the card, and it may be $20. Now, obviously, $20 is not a lot, but it's the principle of the matter. It's the principle of the matter, and it's more so like, I want the sport of boxing to be as accessible to people as possible. And my thing with Turkey is, and this is the one thing I have, it raises my eyebrows when I hear about the Saudis in boxing. Now, we get sold this whole thing that they just want to advertise their country and have all this money to burn, right? So if they have all this money to burn and profit isn't something they care about, then why are almost every single Riyadh season card, why is it on pay-per-view? It's not making any sense. You can't say, well, we have all this money to burn and we don't care about turning a profit and we just want to advertise our country, aka sports washing. And then you say, okay, well, it's all about pay-per-view prices, pay-per-view at a low price point to increase the fan base. That doesn't make any sense, because if you have that much money to burn, you wouldn't do pay-per-view at all. In fact, what you would do, and this is me, if the Saudis really had as much money as people say they do, they'd find a way to, let it just be for the people that already have a DAZN subscription, because people are getting price gouged. DAZN is like what? Y'all tell me, DAZN is how much these days? They've increased the DAZN prices slowly but surely, and now you're paying for pay-per-view fights. So It sounds good in theory, but I don't see it being a good thing long term, because Anthony Joshua fights, and I'm going to use Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua fights have never been pay-per-view in the States. He's not a pay-per-view fighter in the States. He's a pay-per-view fighter in England. And in England, I know the pay-per-views go around for like, what, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, maybe. The British fans can tell me in the comments what they are. But Americans never got charged for Anthony Joshua pay-per-views. So putting a $20 pay-per-view in America is $20 more than Americans had to pay to watch Anthony Joshua. So is that really a win? I don't know, and I'm just saying, I don't think it's not making any sense to me how they keep saying the Saudis have all this money to burn, but every card gets put at a pay-per-view price point. Don't the Saudis have enough money to pay these guys big, huge purses and things like that without having to worry about anything? Because that's what I've always told. I'm told by people in the industry and people in boxing that, hey, the Saudis have more money than they know what to do with. So if that's the case, then stop putting fights on pay-per-view, especially fights for American fans where we're already getting slapped over the face with pay-per-view at pay-per-view. Anthony Joshua is not a pay-per-view fighter, so his fights being a pay-per-view at $20 is not good for the American boxing fan. And I know that sounds like I'm trying to nitpick here, but I'm not nitpicking. It's just I'm thinking out loud. You can't say you have all this money to burn and then put every fight behind a paywall. And whether it's Turkey or whether it's Bob Arum or Al Heyman, I don't agree with fights that are not pay-per-view worthy being on pay-per-view. You see, I come from the school of thought, and I'm still old enough to remember when, pay-per-view, anything, not just boxing, but anything, even like wrestling. I used to be a big wrestling fan when I was a kid. Pay-per-views were always supposed to be for special events. Like, to use wrestling, for example, you may get some good main events when you watch Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown or Thursday Night SmackDown. But those big fights like, The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, those are reserved for WrestleMania. Those were reserved for pay-per-view because it's special. Pay-per-view is supposed to be special. Pay-per-view is not supposed to serve as a means for, okay fights or terrible fights or, somewhat, good matchups. It's not supposed to serve as a means to satisfy a fighter's purse. Pay-per-view is supposed to be for guys that put in the work to build themselves into an attraction, into a name. And then when they fight someone who is looked at to be the best opponent possible, their hardest fight for all the marbles or anything like that, then it's pay-per-view. That's how it's supposed to go. But the model's been so screwed up that now we got Turki Alalshikh charging American boxing fans pay-per-view for a fighter who's never been a pay-per-view fighter in America. So that's kind of where I stand with it. I hope it works out. If they can work out a way where, fights that are bigger than AJ, because AJ Dubois is a big fight in England, but I'm not talking about England. I'm talking about like, how can they make the math work? Let's just say hypothetically, right? They're paying. I've seen the numbers. I've seen reported Shakur Stevenson is getting paid $5 million to fight Joe Cordina, right? So if he's getting paid $5 million to fight Joe Cordina, could they up his pay if, let's say, he fights a William Zepeda? I don't know, and I have serious questions about that. And I just want to know how sustainable a $20 pay-per-view model is. And I'm not wishing bad against it. I just think that it's not gonna be something that is gonna last long term. Things like this don't seem to last long term in boxing. But look, I hope it does. I want the boxing fans to win. I just don't want the American boxing fans to get price gouged like they already are, right? And even if it sounds like it's crazy, charging for an Anthony Joshua pay-per-view in America is a price gouge. He's not a pay-per-view fighter in America. He's a pay-per-view fighter in England. So I'll leave it at that. But you guys let me know what you think about these $20 pay-per-view price points for Turki Alalshikh. What do you guys think? Do you guys think I'm just complaining here, or do you actually see like what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. I'm at the Boxing Hall of Fame out here in Canterbury, New York. And for more great boxing content just like this video, make sure you click and subscribe right over here.